I'm Bobby Mixon with the National Science Foundation, and what you're about to hear may surprise you. We're going to talk about happiness and where you're most likely to find it in the world. Our source for answers is Dr. Ron Inglehart, lead researcher for the World Values Survey that looks at, among other things, happiness in 97 countries. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Inglehart.
Nice to be with you, Bobby.
You recently released new data, so let's get right to it. What's the world's happiest country, and why?
Denmark is the happiest country in the world in our ratings, and it has been for quite some time. And the reasons why are somewhat a matter of speculation, but our analyses indicate three main factors contribute to this. Denmark is a prosperous country, not the richest country in the world, but it's prosperous, and that helps. It's also a democracy, and democracy is a crucial factor. Democracies are regularly happier than non-democracies. Finally, it is a country with high levels of social tolerance, and that's actually the strongest of the three factors as a predictor of happiness.
Now, where does the United States rank on the list?
The U.S. ranks 16th, which, since the U.S. is the richest country in the world, that may be a little surprising, but it's clearly not just economic factors.
The United States isn't in the top 10, but which countries are in the top 10?
Denmark, Puerto Rico, Columbia, Iceland, Northern Ireland, Switzerland, Ireland, the Netherlands, Canada, Austria. It's a mixed bag. Most of these are rich democracies, but they're also, interesting finding, Latin American countries tend to be higher than the economic ranking would predict. I don't know really why. Frankly, I just don't know why, but consistently, the dozen Latin American countries in our sample rank a bit higher than their economic level would predict.
Now, The Economist recently released its Global Peace Index. It ranks Iceland, Denmark, and Norway as the top three most peaceful countries. Do you see any correlation with the happiness rankings?
Strongly expect that there is a correlation between peace and happiness. In fact, our findings indicate happy countries with happy populations are much more likely to be democratic. There's a strong, really surprisingly strong correlation between happiness and democracy. There's also a correlation between democracy and peace. That is, there's a well-known thesis that's got a lot of evidence that democracies are less likely to fight each other than non-democracies.
Now, you've mentioned prosperity and economic growth as important factors to happiness, but your research also makes it clear that personal choice is more important than economic growth.
That's right. That's one of the surprising findings. Most of the research on happiness has examined the economics, and economists especially tend to assume that economics is the dominant factor. Our research indicates prosperity is linked with happiness. It does contribute, but it's not the most important factor. Personal freedom is even more important, and it's freedom in all kinds of ways. Political freedom, like with democracy, and freedom of choice. One of the indicators is gender equality. In the last 20 years, there's been a sharp increase in gender equality. Rising social tolerance, all these things have risen in recent years quite dramatically.
Now, today we're hearing so much about economic dissatisfaction with the economy, the American economy. Are we hearing the wrong thing? Should our leaders be talking more about how to improve personal choice?
We're talking about one of the right things, but not all of the right things. Policymakers are used to taking responsibility for the economy. They're used to dealing with this. And I think this is quite correct. I think that economic factors do influence happiness. The more complicated reality is it's not this alone. And policymakers, I think, need to be attentive to freedom of choice, freedom of opportunity. These are important elements.
Now, it was believed that happiness fluctuates around certain set points, that neither nations nor people could lastingly improve their level of happiness. Your research takes a different view of that. Can the United States lastingly improve its happiness and move up the happiness rankings?
The findings give grounds for optimism. They show that this hedonic treadmill, as it used to be termed, the notion that no matter how hard you run on this treadmill, you never get anywhere, that was a widely accepted interpretation of the evidence that nothing a country can do can help. The U.S. and other countries can do things that will help. The degree to which people have individual choice is something that policymakers can improve. There are some countries, some institutions that clearly provide more liberty of choice, more personal autonomy. And this is just as important as economic progress, too.
So improving political choice and personal choice, that's the prescription.
Yes.
And that's Dr. Ron Inglehart, University of Michigan. Thank you for joining us, and congratulations on the research.
It was a pleasure, and I would like to thank the National Science Foundation for the support that it has provided the World Value Surveys over many years.
Thank you.